In just a short time, New Jersey Assemblywoman Gabriela Mosqueda has built a reputation as a strong advocate for victims of domestic violence. We will learn why this is a personal issue for her. And we welcome the National Association of Hispanic Nurses with an important health message. It's all here on the next Latino Motion. Join us.
Choose quality, value, distinction. Choose Stockton.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation, and Stockton University. This edition of Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is brought to you by the HD Studios at the campus of Stockton University. Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare, healthcare you can believe in. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world. And South Jersey Gas. Welcome to Latino Motion, a weekly interview show highlighting issues impacting New Jersey's Latino community while advancing understanding of Latino cultural heritage and contributions to our society. And here is your host, Bert Lopez.
Buenos dias and welcome to Latino Motion. In just a short time in the New Jersey State Assembly, Gabriela Mosqueda has established a reputation as a strong advocate for children and women. She has spearheaded a number of legislation to help victims of domestic violence. I'm proud to have Gabby Mosqueda here with us, and I hope you don't mind me calling you Gabby, because a lot of people call you Gabby.
Yes, they do, and es un placer estar aquí con usted. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Muchas gracias, and you certainly are a very good role model for other Latinas and Latinos. That's being one of the very few women and men who are Latinos who happen to serve in the New Jersey State Assembly. Tell me a little bit about your background.
Well, first of all, it's an honor to be one of two Latinas serving South Jersey and representing the South Jersey region. And it's myself and then Assemblywoman Nilsa Cruz Perez, but now Senator Nilsa Cruz Perez from the 5th Legislative District. So I'm really honored to be one of two Latinas serving the people of South Jersey. So my background is very interesting. I was not born in the United States. I was actually born in Ecuador. I came to this country as an immigrant when I was very young, at 3 years old. My proudest moment to this day is the day that I became a citizen and I pledged allegiance to the American flag.
And you was 18 when you did that, so it seems like only yesterday.
Yes, it seems like yesterday, but it was like the proudest moment of my life. And I am so grateful that to have lived in a country that has given me so much and be given the opportunity to serve and represent people. It's a way of giving back to a country that has given me so many opportunities, especially on the education front.
And I know you had the pleasure to work with Nilsa Cruz Perez,
Yes.
Senator Cruz Perez, early on, and you had a pretty good experience working with her.
Yes, she is a great woman with great compassion and love for the people that she represents, and I hope that I take a little bit of that that I've learned from her.
And you have. Certainly you've established yourself, as I mentioned, as a good advocate, strong advocate for women and children. Tell me a little bit about your passion for those issues.
Sure. So I'm very passionate about domestic violence. It's something that is extremely important to me because it's very personal to me. My mother is a survivor of domestic violence. When I was a child, my brothers and I were witness of the violence in my household. So it was very tragic and traumatic. My mother was very fortunate. Not many women in a situation like that get out, but she was able to get out. And through her experience, she rose above the tragedy and was able to make a good life for herself, not only for herself, but also for her children, meaning myself and my brothers. She was, through her determination, through her just sense of just sticking it through, and just making sure that.
And she became a small business owner as well, so something that you're also passionate about.
Yes. So but one of the things that she taught me through her experience was the just determination, hard work, and education. Education for her was very important, and that's what she instilled in me, and that's why I was able to be the first one in my family to graduate from college, first one in the family to have a postgraduate degree. I have a graduate degree in business administration, and that was because of my mother. My mother is a small business owner. We're talking about a woman with a very limited education. She only was able to get to the college level. She didn't graduate college. But her smarts and her determination and her passion of who she was and what she believed in allowed her to be the first woman in her family to open a business, have a business, and then we're talking about living in the United States with very limited English speaking ability. So
and I have
very
to say
impressive.
that you weren't just you didn't just happen to witness domestic violence. You and your family also spent some time in a women's shelter,
Yes.
obviously. So that was very personal.
It is personal because I know what it is to spend time in a shelter with my brothers, being taken away from my home and spending time in a very foreign place, something that with other individuals, with other women and children, and even though it's sad to say that that domestic violence is an epidemic in this country. It's horrible to know that it actually exists.
You started right off the gate sponsoring some legislation for domestic violence. Tell me a little bit about one of the very first one was communication between agencies.
Yes, one of the first pieces of legislation that I introduced was making sure that there's communication between all the different levels, between the state and the county and local government, local agencies, just to ensure that there is some type of streamlined communication about domestic violence and offenders and their victims.
And still, and the theme of protecting the victim, one of the other bills was the short circuit TV, being able to give testimony through short circuit TV to protect the victims.
Yeah, so the issue is that, as an offender has their rights to face their accusers. The thing is, with the victim and their offender, it's a very intimidating relationship. So many victims are afraid to testify against their offenders or their abusers. So there was this piece of legislation that I sponsored that would allow them to maybe testify through maybe some type of short circuit TV or some circuit TV, where they would be in a different area of the courthouse, somewhere different, away, apart from their abuser, but also just being there.
It makes a lot of sense. This is one of the things that we're going to continue to discuss and talk about some of the other bills that you have pending. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics.
Welcome back to Latino Motion. We continue our discussion with Assemblywoman Gabriela Mosquera from the 4th Legislative District. And Gabby, we were talking about some of the bills that you helped sponsored, the developing of additional communication between agencies in the state when it comes to domestic violence, and certainly helping to protect victims further by introducing testimony through closed-circuit TV. All great ideas, but I know you have a big passion on a new bill that you introduced in the last session. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So one of the things that I'm really passionate about, especially moving forward, is dealing with domestic violence and firearms. Statistics indicates that there's a woman, and I'm going to use women in this case because the majority of the victims are women. There's a woman is 5 times more likely to be killed by an intimate partner if they live in a household where there is firearms.
That's a significant
Yes.
statistic.
Yeah, it's huge significance, and it's very alarming to know that a victim is 5 times more likely to be killed by an intimate partner because if there's the firearms. Now, firearms and domestic violence is a very deadly combination, And we want to be able to stop that. So the purpose of the bill is very simple. It's just basically allow the courts to ensure that there is going to be the surrender of all firearms. Now, this is nothing to do against the Second Amendment. It has more to do with protecting the victim, and that is what I'm trying to fight for.
Obviously, the governor vetoed the bill in the last session. Was the issue that he was taking up was because of the Second Amendment?
No, actually it was not. He just thought it was that my bill wasn't strong enough and it didn't do what it's supposed to do, and he offered other types of recommendations which were interesting but had nothing to do what I wanted to pursue and my goal was. And my goal was to make sure that victims of domestic violence that live in households where there's firearms, that those firearms must be removed because they're an intimidation for these individuals. They're used as a tactic to intimidate. And that's what basically are abusers. It's all about control over the victim. And a way to control the victim is through those firearms.
Is there a light at the end of the tunnel for this legislation? It got vetoed last session. You have reintroduced it. Do you think it has some legs now?
It always had legs. It's just the fact that the governor and I didn't see eye to eye. That's all, and which is fine. But it's going through the legislative process all over again. I'm going to be fighting for this bill. This is the right bill. This is something that needs to get done in the state of New Jersey. And I am open to speaking with the administration. I'm open to speak with any individuals that believe that this is something that is not needed. And my counter argument is it is needed because we need to protect victims of domestic violence. For me, it's a very common sense piece of legislation.
I certainly wish you luck with that bill. But there's another bill that you're also working on, and that's developing a new crime statute. Tell me a little bit about that.
So there are, within domestic violence, not only is the victim affected, but also if there's children in that relationship, the children are affected. So my goal is to create a statute, a crime that would, where an abuser would be convicted if it's found out that there was a child present in the home when the abuse was taking place. Now there is a lot of I have received a lot of concerns, from many people. They have expressed their concerns about this piece of legislation, and I am currently working to iron those concerns out.
This is something that is not often talked about, certainly the effect of the domestic violence on children. You've experienced it firsthand, and you know how traumatic that could be. Certainly the court do order from time to time assistance to the children through therapy and so forth, but this will put more teeth, if you will.
Yes, like you mentioned, this particular bill is extremely important to me because I remember being that child. I remember, being witnessing the yelling and the screaming between my parents and the tension, and I remember feeling very scared at the time. I'm not sure if my brothers remember because they were way too young, but I remember, and I remember those feelings.
30 seconds that we have, just tell me what recommendation anyone that's facing domestic violence situation, whether it's a child or it's an individual, what advice do you give?
Well, first of all, a victim has to be ready. We don't want to push anyone, but if they are ready, they should be contacting the domestic violence hotline number, or they should be contacting a friend, a close friend, someone that they can trust, to make sure that they can get out from their situation safely. And it's also important that when the time comes that the victim has a strategy, an exit plan. That's very important.
Very good advice, and we'll put that number up. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We're going to be right back with my next guest right here on Latino Motion.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics.
Welcome back to Latino Motion. We're proud of our partnership with the National Association of Hispanic Nurses, the Garden State chapter, to bring you important health information. Joining me is Evelyn Javier. She is a registered nurse, and she's bringing us this month's health topic. Evelyn, welcome to Latino Motion.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And I see your pin, your red pin kind of indicates a little bit about what you're going to talk about. What is the topic for this month?
So the topic for this month is February is Heart Health Month. So I wanted to cover about heart disease and stroke prevention and information for our communities and especially women. So
You're working with the Heart Association currently to promote awareness, particularly to the Latino community. Tell me about the event that you're promoting.
okay, so we're promoting the with American Heart Association. We're promoting the campaign "Go Red Por Tu Corazon," which is a campaign, a bilingual campaign to bring awareness and information to our Latino and Hispanic women about their problems, and they're to get them informed about heart disease and stroke prevention.
Now, obviously, there is a disparity between Latinas and non-Latinas in terms of heart disease. Tell me a little bit about that.
So Hispanic women are at a greater risk for getting heart disease and stroke, more than Caucasian and African American women. Heart disease now, 1 in 3 women are being affected and die yearly from heart disease. It's more than all cancers combined.
Those are significant numbers. What are you doing? Obviously, you're here to help promote this information, but what else is the National Association of Hispanic Nurses doing to promote health awareness?
We're promoting health awareness. We're out in the communities through every month. We have activities, but the month of February, we're actually having our Go Red campaign. We're having a brunch this coming Sunday where we're having a Go Red event. We're promoting awareness, and we want to make sure we're going to those communities and educating them about how to prevent heart disease and stroke.
Let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned some of the statistics which are alarming, and certainly there needs to be a lot more education. Tell me a little bit about some of the steps that we should take, women should be taking to be healthier and prevent heart disease.
So the main step that we want to let all women know is to prevention. So by being aware of that heart disease is impacting women more than men. 1 in 3 women compared to men are more with heart disease, and the symptoms are not the same, so they're not recognized right away. So we want to have women know their numbers by visiting a well doctor visit. So if they are able to go in and know their blood pressure, eat healthy, know their numbers when it comes to cholesterol, also to just be preventative for heart disease.
So how often should they have this wellness checkup?
At least once a year, if they're healthy. If the doctor, you go to the doctor and you go for a screening and they screen you for heart disease, which the main things are cholesterol, high blood pressure, and obesity, they'll be able to let you know when the next follow-up is. So make sure you just follow up with your primary care physician.
And obviously the big disparity between Latinas and non-Latinos is the preventive measures, being able to see a doctor regularly.
So that's why we're having the Go Red Por Tu Corazon. It's bilingual, so it's culturally competent. So they were making sure that it is in Spanish. So we're going, and the National Association of Hispanic Nurses Garden State chapter is going out into the communities and educating in language that our communities and our Hispanic women are able to understand.
Of course, one of the big things about the National Association of Hispanic Nurses is encouraging Latinos like yourself to go into healthcare. So tell me a little bit about the practice that you do and what got you involved in nursing.
Definitely wanting to, just growing up, being a Hispanic female, you care for people. So taking care of your abuelas, your tias, you're just doing that naturally. So seeing that practice and just that being instilled in me, I wanted to promote that for members in the community.
So tell me a little bit about the education that you got, had to take to become an RN.
Okay, so to become an RN, I actually completed a 4-year university program to get my bachelor's in nursing.
And that's very much recommended nowadays. Obviously, some hospitals are only hiring a bachelor degree RN, so it's important that you take it to that next step for anyone that's looking to go into nursing now.
Yeah, definitely. And with the support of chapters like the National Association of Hispanic Chapters, there's scholarships and there's mentorship that they'll be able to help you reach those goals. Nursing is not something that is easy, even when it comes to schoolwork and in the field.
It's great to see a young Latina in that field, and certainly we need more Latinos involved. Thank you for sharing this important information with our audience, and thank you for joining us at home once again here on Latino Motion.
Choose quality, value, distinction. Choose Stockton.
Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare, healthcare you can believe in. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world. And South Jersey Gas.